Hi, I'm Haley Victoria and welcome back to my crime and policing channel. In today's session, we are looking at powers of entry. This is a request from a student officer I was working with last week, and I have actually done a video already on section 17, just saying, but I'll do a little bit more. We'll expand upon things and try and make it a little bit clearer so it makes sense. So I have been asked to dedicate this video to that officer, but I can't say the name because obviously I don't want the house to get egged or the tyres to get done or anything like that. Not all people like the police, would you believe? So this is dedicated to you, and they asked me to call them the best police officer South Yorkshire Police has ever seen. I'm pretty sure that's what they said. Very humble, as you can tell, but I've got no doubt in my mind that you will be a fantastic police officer. In fact, you already are a fantastic police officer, and the rest of your class are too. What a fantastic group to work with. I'm with you tomorrow, or whenever this video's probably not going to be tomorrow anyway. I'm with them again in the future. They're one of the courses I work with, and I'm very, very looking forward to seeing how you progress over the next few years and indeed in the rest of your careers. So yeah, this one's for you guys, in particular, the best police officer South Yorkshire Police has ever seen, or something like that. We are looking at powers of entry. You cannot just walk into someone's house. You can't do that. Or any premises. You can't just boot the door down, show them your warrant card and be like, sup. You can't do it. That's proper abuse of your powers. Abuse of those things that you promised you wouldn't do in attestation. So when you attest to be a police constable and you say, you know, I'm going to be great and do all the good things for the king, right? When you do all that, when you do your attestation, and I will, you know, remember all the words, right? When you do the attestation, you promise you're not going to abuse your powers. Booting someone's door in just because is definitely abusing your powers. And also, you're infringing on people's human rights. What are you doing? You shouldn't even want to do that. Like, you know, you don't want to go into someone's houses. You wouldn't want someone to come into your house and disrespect your space. If you've not seen, like, you know, those like door stickers or whatever you get from Poundland where my home is my castle or whatever it is, right? You don't just break into people's homes because you're a cop, because you want to have a quick look around, or you've got, I don't know, your cop spider senses tingling. There's no such thing, by the way, and I've mentioned this before. I've heard it. It just really grinds my gears. The copper's nose. What are you, Spider-Man? But honestly, my senses are telling me that something's over there. All right, Mystic Meg, that's not what's happening. What's happening is you need to gather info and intel. You need to use that national decision model. You need to look at evidence and intelligence before you do things. You can't just go on a whim because something might be there. And you can't just kick in someone's door because, you know, you've got a suspicion something might be happening, but no actual evidence or reason to actually suspect that. You just think, I might fancy kicking that door in. Can't do it, okay? There are reasons in which you can, however, enter people's premises, and we'll go through those because, you know, when you are, you know, going into someone's private space, you're engaged in Article 8 of the Human Rights Act, which is, that's me saying, come on, you guys, come back to me here. Article 8 of the Human Rights Act is obviously everyone's right to private and family life. You should respect that because you would want that for yourself too. I've had to sort out some doozies in my time when I worked for the police a long time ago, where police officers may or may not have kicked in the wrong door and invaded a couple just watching I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here and eating the tea on the sofa on a drugs warrant. They did nothing wrong. They were just an elderly couple watching TV. And they definitely infringed their rights. So much so that we had to apologise profusely, pay for a new door, and all the other stuff we had to do, which was bad because it was one of those nice double glazing ones. And also, it just makes us look stupid, right? Anyway, that aside, you cannot just bust into people's homes because everyone has a right to a private and family life. We know that under Article 8 of the Human Rights Act. Okay, remember that one. That's that compacted. Don't know what the robot thing's about, but anyway, come with me here. All right, so we're going to look at Section 17 of PACE. PACE, obviously, is the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, 1984. This should be your Bible. In fact, if you haven't done already, want to get yourself a copy. Like, this is a very, very old copy of PACE that I got when I was in police training. There's a lot of paper, So if you do print it out, treasure it forever. I've had this a good, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. So I recommend that if you do print stuff out like that, you keep it and not just waste it. So section 17 of PACE is all about people. And in particular, it tells us when you can have power of entry and what that is for. So section 17 brackets 1b of PACE tells you that a constable may enter and search any premises for the purpose of arresting a person for an indictable offence. Now, if we look at our offence categories, we've covered this before. We've got summary, indictable / either way, and indictable only. And it's going up like that in terms of severity. So your summary only offences are, I don't know, it's like your little things, like most traffic offences are summary only. Littering, that kind of stuff. Middle one is your indictable, also known as either way. And it's called that because, well, either way, because it could go either way. You could go down here to summary to the magistrates, you could go up here to Crown, depending on the severity of what you've done, okay? So a classic example of an either way offence is criminal damage. So you might have drawn a knob on a bus stop, that takes it down here, right? If you've done a massive damage thing that's cost thousands of pounds, you're up here. So depending on the severity of the crime depends on how it gets processed. That's your either way offences. Then you have indictable only, which is bang on the top. And that means things that will only ever sit in Crown Court. That's when you look at things like murder. So your big crimes, okay? Anyway, so let's just recap what I said before about that legislation. 17 brackets 1b. That's where a constable may enter and search any premises for the purpose of arresting a person for an indictable offence. Bingo. So that's section 17 brackets 1b. There are other little bits of legislation that talk about powers of entry too, and we're back at section 17, this time brackets 1 brackets e of PACE again. So we're still in the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. Is where a constable may enter and search a premises for the purpose of saving life or limb or preventing serious damage to property. So he may enter a premises to save life or limb or prevent serious damage to property. So what might that look like? Well, I can tell you exactly what that will look like. A friend of mine, a colleague of mine, was on duty one day and they had been informed that there was a funny smell coming out of a house. So the post officer, the what do you call them? Post person, the one who gives you letters and stuff through the post box, right? I should know this. My parents are these people. And the postal worker came to the door and noticed that it smelled a bit like gas. They're like, ooh, this is unusual. Thankfully, that postal worker flagged down a police car which was coming just beautifully down the road at the same time. And they're like, mate, it stinks in there. It smells like gas coming from the letterbox. I'm a bit concerned. Okay, nice. Well done, post day. So the police officer, a friend of mine, went to the door and they could too smell gas. When they looked through the letterbox, investigation technique, there you go, looked through the letterbox, they could see someone's feet in the kitchen. So as if they were laying down. Oh dear. So under section 17, brackets 1, brackets E, they forced entry into the home and they found a person passed out in the kitchen with the oven on and the door open, a potential suicide attempt. But they entered to save life or limb, and they did save a life, which is amazing. Well done. And to you as well, you postal worker who saved the day there. So that is an example there of saving life and limb. So let's look about damage to a property then. So we're looking at serious damage to a property. If you have noticed, maybe the pipes have burst and your neighbour's on holiday, right? You're like, oh my God, Sharon, your house is flooding. And she's in Turkey. She's like, shit, what am I going to do? You notice the house is flooding, the pipes have burst, you phone, help. Police come round, oh dear, they break in and turn the water off. That's to prevent serious damage to the property. If they just left that going, that house will be absolutely wrecked. I don't know if you've ever had pipes burst before in your home. It's like a scene from Jumanji, honestly. It's absolutely awful. And it's cold, and then it stinks for ages of damp. Anyway, so that's an example there about saving your property there from preventing serious damage to property. So section 17, brackets 1, brackets E. Okay? So that's, so far, we've got you going to arrest somebody for an indictable offence. You've gone in to save life or limb. And you have gone in to prevent serious damage to property. Okay, remember that stuff. I won't be testing you on it, but you'll be testing yourself every day when you're out there working as a police officer. Now then, under common law, so we're not in PACE at the moment, we're back in common law, we're now looking at breach of the peace. I've done a whole video on breach of the peace, and this is very, very old as it's common law. So if you've watched these videos before, you know that common law means it's proper old. Common laws were when like different areas had their own little courts and stuff, and then these laws would go through and be like, oh yeah, we agree with that too. Like hundreds of years ago, these common law offences were, because it's common across the entirety of where we are in Britain. So other examples of common law are things like murder and kidnap, which have just been bad for a very long time. Breach of the peace sounds old because it is old and it's still current. Some people want to get rid of breach of the peace and just stick with the public order offences. However, breach of the peace does have with it a power of entry. And that's where constable has the power to enter the premises and prevent or deal with a breach of the peace. So think about a breach of the peace. Something's happening, it's breaching the peace. You want to prevent it or deal with it, you've got a power of entry here. And it's quite quick to finish as well, because as soon as a breach of the peace stops, you can just leave and get on with your day. Easy, right? So that's another one. So remember, let's go from the list from the top to the bottom. To search and arrest someone for an indictable offence. Save life and limb. To prevent serious damage to a property. And now to deal with or to prevent breach of the peace. Are you with me so far? I mean, I can't hear you, so I'm just going to assume that you are. Now we're looking at a different piece of legislation, but ignore the legislation for a moment and just focus on what it is you can go and search for. If you can enter a premises, we're looking at powers of entry again, to search for a child or for children who may be in need of protection. We're now looking at the Children's Act 1989, and we're looking at section 48. And that's saying a warrant may be obtained to search for children who may be in need of protection. And other powers of entry here, where a power of arrest being attached to a civil order, such as an occupation order, and there's been a breach of the peace. Easy, right? So they're what we're looking at right now. But what I'm going to do is have a quick run through section 17 of PACE, just to make sure that I've covered it thoroughly. So I went into quite a bit of detail, section 1 brackets B, section 1 brackets E. They're on the police checklist of the APP, which is your authorised professional practice of the College of Policing, which is a super useful website. Also, picking out the main bits of actual section 17 on legislation.gov.uk. It is very wordy. It does look like it's being written in Victorian Britain. So I'm just going to pick out the key bits for you now. So section 17 of PACE is all about people. You're looking at the entry of and search of premises where you have reasonable grounds to believe, looking at believe, not suspicion, the person is in order to, right? So you're entering, searching a premises in order to. Arrest for an indictable offence. We've already covered that one. Arrest for a commitment of warrant. Arrest for specified offences. Now we're looking at some traffic offences here, such as section 4 of the Road Traffic Act, section 163 of the Road Traffic Act, which is failed to stop, section 4 public order. That's another reason why you may go in there. It's another specified offence. Arrest of a young person who's escaped from local authority accommodation. Arrest someone who's escaped from lawful custody. Arrest for someone you're in pursuit of. So you're chasing after someone, you're in pursuit of them. Okay, that's section 17 of PACE. It's all about people. Now, there are all reasonable grounds to believe that the person was in there. However, you only need reasonable grounds to suspect if you want to enter and search someone to prevent serious harm to a person or serious damage to a property. So that's your reasonable grounds to suspect there and your reasonable grounds to believe. Now then, if you are using force to enter somewhere, you have to remember what your powers are there as well. So chances are people's door handles aren't always a little bit dodgy, right? So you're going to have to use reasonable force when required, which is section 117 of PACE. Remember that, because you're required to write up all of this in your pocket notebook in line with the code of practice in PACE. PACE is there, it's designed to help you as police officers, to make sure you're doing the right lawful thing for members of the community. Remember Pelian principles. You are the community are you. You wouldn't want someone to treat you badly if they were the police officer and you weren't. So remember that when you're dealing with people, whoever they are, for whatever offences or suspicions you may have, treat them nicely, treat them properly, with respect. So that is section 17 and others, all about powers of entry. You can't just bust into someone's house willy-nilly, right? What you've got to do is do things properly. And remember that you are engaging in the human rights. If you're going to someone's premises, you're looking at Article 8 of the Human Rights Act, which is everyone's right to a private and family life. If you arrest somebody, you are again infringing on their human rights, which is Article 5, which is everyone's right to liberty. Now then, if you're going to engage in those rights, you better make sure you've got the proper rationale to do so and you can justify your actions. You need to write everything up in your pocket notebook and make sure you're doing things lawfully. If you are confused, if you're not entirely sure what you're doing, I would recommend you consult Pocket Sergeant, you consult your tutor constables, or shout up on the radio to someone, you know, Inspector Sergeant, whoever. Just make sure you get the advice you need before you go in Billy Big Boots and make a big mess of things. If you are completely unsure, then perhaps you need to have a little bit of a refresher of your training. And as I've always said, get yourself one of these bad boys. The Blackstone's policing books are fantastic, super, super helpful. And as is the APP on the College of Policing website. Okay, so continuing on our powers of entry, we've done loads already. We're going to look at section 18 of PACE. So we've done 17, we've done protection of children, we've done common law. We are now looking at section 18 of PACE. And section 18 of PACE is all about evidence. It's after arrest for an indictable offence, and you've got power to enter a premises, occupied or controlled by the arrested person. So to search for evidence in relation to that offence or similar or connected indictable offence. Do need an inspector's authority, but if you have to be really quick about it, you can do a section 18.5, and that's before you get the person to custody if you believe that the evidence may be destroyed or disposed of by others. It's really important that you do get the inspector's authority, so you might ever want to try and do that over airwave, over phone before you get there, but you can get it retrospectively if you believe that the evidence may get lost before you have chance to book the person in custody and then go back. That's section 18 of PACE. You're looking for evidence. Okay, 17 people, 18 evidence related to that offence, similar or connected indictable offence, 18.5 if you think that evidence might go missing. So that's your retrospective inspector's permission, okay? Now we're looking at section 32, premises search. So if you've arrested somebody on an indictable offence, you can search the premises where the person was at the time of the offence or immediately prior to arrest. You're looking for evidence in relation to the offence that they were arrested for. That's it basically for this video. What I want you to focus on are the ones that are on the College of Policing website, which is section 17s, 18s, 32s, and the protection of children's orders, and your common law as well. What you need to do is just focus on the things that you do. And as a response officer fresh into service, these ones will cover what you need to know. So your 17, 18, 32, maybe a section 8, and they're of PACE. Then your children's protections orders, and also what I mentioned, common law. Have a look at those ones. I hope that makes sense. Like I mentioned, you can't just go in willy-nilly, kicking doors down and stuff. But if you want to get into that property to search for someone and arrest them, reasonable grounds to believe they're in there, right? For an indictable offence, section 17 of PACE. If you've got to force entry, you need to use reasonable force, section 117 of PACE. If you seize any property, section 19 of PACE. And if you retain any property, section 22 of PACE. If there's anything else you'd like to know, let me know. Ask me in the comments or send me a message on one of my social media things. I've got loads if you can find me. That's it for today. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and please don't commit any crimes.